Welcome to our deep dive today.
Yeah.
We're tackling essential resources
Yeah.
and their environmental impact. You sent us some really fascinating material, and I can't wait to unpack it all with you. We're going to be exploring the most crucial resources for
Right.
humans, how efficiently we use them, their impact on our health and the environment, and what happens when we extract those resources in the first place. Get ready to rethink what you thought you knew about everyday necessities.
You know, it's interesting because we often just totally overlook the origin of these resources.
Yeah.
We just flip a switch for light, turn up the thermostat for heat,
Right.
fill our cars with gas, but we rarely consider the intricate chain of events leading up to that moment.
It's true. That's such a good point. It's like we're so focused on the destination
Yeah.
that we forget about the journey.
Yeah.
So let's rewind to the very beginning.
Yeah.
What are the most essential resources that humans need to survive and thrive?
I think when we talk about essential, we mean those resources that are absolutely vital for our basic needs and the functioning of modern society. And while the list is long, our research points to electricity, heating, and gas
Okay.
as kind of the top three.
The big three. Okay, so let's start with electricity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's practically like the lifeblood of our modern world.
Oh, yeah.
It powers everything.
Everything.
From our homes to our smartphones. And we're increasingly reliant on it, and it's only going to become more important in the future.
Absolutely. And what makes electricity so interesting is its versatility.
Yeah.
You know, we can generate it from a variety of sources.
Right.
Some renewable, like solar, wind, hydro, and even geothermal.
Right.
And others like fossil fuels with a greater environmental impact.
Right.
So this range of options is what makes it such a crucial area to examine for a more sustainable future.
So it's not just about having electricity, but it's about how we generate it.
Precisely, yeah. Choosing renewable sources significantly reduces our environmental impact compared to relying on fossil fuels, which, as we all know, contribute to issues like climate change and air pollution.
Right, and I think it's not even just about choosing a source, but it's also making sure that we're using that electricity as efficiently as possible.
No, for sure.
Like energy-efficient appliances, LED lighting, and even smart home systems that can help us manage our consumption.
Absolutely. Energy efficiency is a critical piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
It's about getting the most out of every kilowatt hour we generate.
Yeah.
Minimizing waste and maximizing the benefits.
Okay, on to the next essential resource. Heating. Anyone who's lived through a really frigid winter knows how essential this is for comfort, even survival.
Oh, yeah.
We've got options ranging from traditional natural gas furnaces to newer electric heating systems, and even some interesting alternatives like biomass and geothermal.
You know, what's important to remember is that the impact of our heating choices, much like electricity, is directly tied to the source of energy used.
Right.
For instance, an electric heating system powered by solar panels has a vastly different footprint than one relying on electricity generated from a coal-fired power plant.
Yeah. This brings up a question that I've been thinking about a lot. We often hear about clean electricity. But can we truly call any source of energy completely clean?
That's a good question.
Isn't there always some environmental impact, even with renewables?
That's a very insightful question. The truth is, even renewable energy sources come with some environmental impact.
Right.
For example, manufacturing solar panels requires energy and resources.
Right.
And wind turbines can impact bird populations, if not sited carefully.
Right.
However, when compared to the extraction, processing, and combustion of fossil fuels, the impacts of renewables are significantly lower.
I see. So it's all about weighing the pros and cons and finding the best balance. What about gas? I mean, we use it for everything from cooking to transportation. What are the key things we need to know about its impact?
Well, gas, primarily natural gas, is a fossil fuel.
Right.
So its extraction and use contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. While it burns cleaner than coal or oil, it's still a major contributor to climate change and air pollution.
And even though we've seen improvements in gas-powered vehicle efficiency over the years, they still kind of lag behind electric vehicles in terms of overall energy efficiency.
That's right. Electric vehicles convert a much higher percentage of the energy stored in their batteries into actual movement, while gas-powered cars lose a significant portion of that energy as heat.
Okay, so when it comes to gas, it seems like the conversation inevitably leads to the need for a transition to cleaner alternatives. We'll delve deeper into that later. For now, let's shift our focus to a really key aspect of any resource: efficiency. How can we make sure we're getting the most out of the resources we use, minimizing waste and maximizing the benefits?
I think when we talk about efficiency, we need to look at both how we generate energy and how we use it.
Right.
For example, with electricity, embracing advancements in solar technology can significantly improve efficiency.
Okay.
We're talking about things like perovskite solar cells, which offer higher efficiency and lower manufacturing costs
Oh, wow.
than traditional silicon-based cells.
So there's a lot of exciting research and development
Oh, absolutely.
happening in the renewable energy sector,
For sure.
constantly pushing the boundaries of efficiency.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the technology itself, but also about how we integrate it into our infrastructure.
Right.
For instance, smart grids can help us better manage and distribute electricity,
Right.
reducing waste and improving overall efficiency.
That makes sense. What about heating? How can we make our homes more energy efficient and reduce our reliance on heating systems?
One of the most effective ways to improve heating efficiency is through proper insulation.
Okay.
Think of it as a warm blanket for your home, preventing heat loss, and reducing the workload on your heating system.
It's like making sure your house has a good winter coat, right?
Exactly.
And I imagine regular maintenance plays a role too, right?
Absolutely.
Making sure everything's running smoothly and efficiently.
Yeah, a well-maintained heating system operates at peak efficiency,
Right.
reducing energy consumption and saving you money on your energy bills.
Right.
And speaking of efficient heating, we have to mention heat pumps.
Yes.
These systems can both heat and cool your home,
Right.
making them incredibly versatile.
I've heard a lot about heat pumps lately. What makes them so efficient?
Unlike traditional heating systems that generate heat,
Okay.
heat pumps actually move heat from one place to another.
All right.
In the winter, they extract heat from the outside air or ground
Okay.
and transfer it into your home. In the summer, they reverse the process, cooling your home by transferring heat outside.
So they're essentially like two-way energy movers adapting to different seasons.
Exactly. And because they're moving heat rather than generating it, they use significantly less energy than traditional heating and cooling systems.
That's incredible. It sounds like heat pumps are like a key technology for a more sustainable future.
Yeah.
But we've only scratched the surface of this complex topic.
Yeah.
Next, we'll delve into the environmental and health impacts of these essential resources. Get ready for some eye-opening insights.
I think it's essential to understand the full picture, not just the benefits these resources provide, but also the consequences of their production and use.
Right.
So stay tuned for that.
Exactly. See you in the next part of our deep dive.
See ya! Welcome back to our deep dive. We've talked about what essential resources are and how we can use them more efficiently. Now, we're going to explore a critical aspect that often gets overlooked: the environmental and health consequences of extracting and using these resources.
Yeah, I think it's easy to forget that those everyday conveniences, like turning on a light or driving the car, have a much larger impact than we might realize.
For sure.
So what are some of the key things we need to be aware of?
The extraction and use of resources can have far-reaching consequences, affecting our health, ecosystems, and even the global climate.
Yeah.
Some of the major issues we'll be examining include habitat destruction, water pollution, air pollution, and soil degradation.
Okay, so let's start with habitat destruction.
Okay.
It's a term we hear a lot, but what does it actually look like in the real world?
Imagine vast forests being cleared for timber, mining, or agriculture.
Okay.
This deforestation not only removes trees, which absorb carbon dioxide and help regulate the climate, but it also disrupts entire ecosystems, displacing wildlife and often leading to a loss of biodiversity.
It's heartbreaking to think about those animals losing their homes.
Yeah.
And the delicate balance of nature being disrupted. Are there any specific examples that come to mind?
One of the most concerning examples is the ongoing deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. Driven by a combination of factors, including agricultural expansion, illegal logging, and mining, the Amazon is losing millions of acres of forest each year.
Right.
This loss has far-reaching consequences, not only for the region's biodiversity, but also for the global climate.
Yeah, it's almost like we're chipping away at the Earth's lungs.
Exactly.
It's not just forests, right?
Right.
Other ecosystems are also impacted by resource extraction.
Absolutely. Mining, for example, can leave behind vast, barren landscapes that are difficult, if not impossible, to rehabilitate.
Yeah.
Take the Grasberg mine in Indonesia. one of the largest gold and copper mines in the world.
Wow.
The scale of the operation is staggering.
Yeah.
And the environmental damage is significant, including deforestation, river pollution, and displacement of indigenous communities.
It's a stark reminder that our demand for these resources often comes at a high cost to both the environment and local communities.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to water pollution. How does resource extraction impact our water sources?
One of the most serious issues is acid mine drainage.
Okay.
When exposed to air and water, sulfite minerals in mining waste can oxidize, producing sulfuric acid.
Right.
This acidic runoff can contaminate rivers, streams, and groundwater, making them toxic to aquatic life and even unsuitable for human use.
So it's not just about the immediate area where the mining takes place.
Yeah.
The pollution can spread far and wide.
Absolutely.
Can you, explain how acid mine drainage works in a bit more detail?
Sure. It's a complex chemical process.
Okay.
But essentially, when sulfide minerals like pyrite, which is commonly found in coal and metal ore deposits, are exposed to air and water, they react to form sulfuric acid.
Okay.
This acid then dissolves other metals from the surrounding rocks and soil, creating a toxic cocktail that can pollute water sources.
Like a chain reaction of contamination.
Exactly.
And I imagine this isn't a problem that just disappears when a mine closes.
Unfortunately, that's often the case. Acid mine drainage can persist for decades, even centuries, after a mine has been abandoned.
Oh, wow.
It requires ongoing monitoring and treatment to prevent further contamination.
It's a reminder that the impacts of resource extraction can have a very, long lifespan.
Yeah.
What are some other ways that resource extraction can pollute water?
The use of chemicals in various extraction processes is another major concern.
Okay.
For example, hydraulic fracturing, or fracking,
Right.
which is used to extract natural gas, involves injecting a mixture of water, sand, and chemicals into the ground to fracture the rock and release the gas.
Right.
These chemicals can contaminate groundwater if not properly contained.
That makes me wonder about the chemicals themselves.
Yeah.
What are some of the specific chemicals used in fracking?
Right.
And what are their, potential impacts on human health and the environment?
The exact chemical composition of fracking fluids can vary.
Right.
But they often include substances like biocides, corrosion inhibitors, and gelling agents. Some of these chemicals are known or suspected carcinogens,
Wow.
endocrine disruptors, or respiratory irritants.
So the potential for harm is, significant.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the chemicals themselves, it's also the, sheer volume of water used in the process.
Yeah.
In some regions, this can put a strain on local water resources, especially in areas already facing water scarcity.
Exactly. The water-intensive nature of fracking is a growing concern.
Right.
Particularly in arid and semi-arid regions.
Okay, so we've covered habitat destruction and water pollution. Let's move on to air pollution.
Okay.
How does resource extraction contribute to poor air quality?
The burning of fossil fuels for energy is a major source of air pollution, as we discussed earlier.
Right.
But the extraction and processing of those fuels also release harmful pollutants into the atmosphere. For example, oil and gas wells can release methane, a potent greenhouse gas, as well as volatile organic compounds, which contribute to smog formation.
And what about mining? I imagine that process also generates, a lot of dust and particulate matter.
Oh, yeah.
That can affect air quality?
You're right. Mining operations often involve blasting, digging, and transporting large quantities of rock and ore, which generates a significant amount of dust. This dust can contain harmful particles that can lodge deep in our lungs and contribute to respiratory problems.
So it's not just about the emissions from burning fossil fuels. It's the entire process that has air quality implications.
Exactly.
Are there specific examples of communities that have been particularly affected by air pollution from resource extraction?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Communities located near coal mines, oil and gas wells, and other extractive industries often experience higher levels of air pollution, which can have serious health consequences, particularly for children, the elderly, and those with pre-existing respiratory conditions.
It's a reminder that environmental injustice often goes hand in hand with resource extraction, with marginalized communities bearing a disproportionate share of the burden.
Unfortunately, that's true.
We've talked about habitat destruction, water pollution, and air pollution. What about soil degradation? How does resource extraction impact the health of our soil?
Soil degradation is a serious issue.
Right.
And resource extraction can contribute to it in a number of ways. Deforestation, as we mentioned earlier, can lead to soil erosion,
Right.
as the loss of tree cover exposes the soil to wind and rain.
Yeah.
Mining can also disrupt soil structure and contaminate it with heavy metals and other toxins.
So we're not just depleting resources, we're actually damaging the very foundation that supports life on Earth.
That's a good point, yeah.
What are the long-term consequences of soil degradation?
Soil degradation can have a ripple effect on entire ecosystems.
Right.
It can reduce agricultural productivity,
Yep.
leading to food insecurity.
Right.
It can also increase the risk of desertification, as degraded soil is more vulnerable to wind erosion and drought.
This brings up another question I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
We often hear about sustainable farming practices as a solution to soil degradation.
Right.
Can you talk a bit more about what those practices entail
Sure.
and how they can help protect our soil?
Sustainable farming practices encompass a wide range of techniques
Okay.
that aim to minimize environmental impact while maximizing productivity.
Right.
These practices include things like crop rotation, cover cropping, no-till farming, and integrated pest management.
Can you break down those practices a bit further? I'm not sure I understand how they actually benefit the soil.
Sure, crop rotation involves alternating different crops in the same field over time.
Okay.
This helps to interrupt pest cycles, improve soil fertility, and reduce the risk of soil erosion.
Gotcha.
Cover cropping involves planting crops specifically to cover the soil rather than for harvest.
Okay.
These crops help to suppress weeds, prevent erosion, and add organic matter to the soil. No-till farming minimizes soil disturbance by planting directly into the residue of the previous crop.
Right.
This helps to preserve soil structure and reduce erosion.
Okay.
And integrated pest management focuses on using a combination of techniques to control pests,
Right.
rather than relying solely on chemical pesticides.
Mm-hmm.
This approach aims to minimize the negative impacts of pesticides on the environment and human health.
These practices seem like common sense.
Yeah.
But I imagine it takes a shift in mindset for farmers to adopt them.
Yeah, I think so.
What are some of the challenges to wider adoption of sustainable farming practices?
One of the biggest challenges is economic.
Okay.
Transitioning to sustainable practices can require upfront investments in new equipment or training.
Right.
And it can sometimes take time to see the economic benefits.
Yeah.
There are also cultural and institutional barriers, as well as a lack of access to information and support for farmers who are interested in making the switch.
It sounds like there's a need for more education, outreach, and financial incentives to support farmers in adopting these practices.
Absolutely.
This is a topic we could definitely delve deeper into in a future episode.
Yeah, for sure.
But for now, let's shift gears and talk about solutions.
Okay.
We've spent a lot of time discussing the negative impacts of resource extraction.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that there are also many positive developments happening in the field of sustainability.
Absolutely. There's a growing movement of individuals, businesses, and organizations working to find more sustainable ways to extract and use resources.
Okay.
And there's a lot of exciting innovation happening in areas like renewable energy, energy efficiency, and circular economy models.
That's encouraging to hear. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore these solutions in more detail, looking at what's working, what challenges remain, and what we can all do to contribute to a more sustainable future. Welcome back to our deep dive. We've explored this complex web of essential resources, their impact on our lives, and the often hidden consequences of their extraction. But it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
In this final segment, we're shifting gears to focus on solutions.
Okay.
Because let's be honest, understanding the problems is just the first step.
Yeah.
The real challenge and the exciting part is figuring out how to create a more sustainable future.
I completely agree. Yeah, we've laid out the challenges, but now comes the empowering part, exploring the ways we can mitigate the negative impacts of resource extraction and transition to a more sustainable way of life.
Exactly. And it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Our individual actions are just a drop in the ocean.
Right.
But I truly believe that those drops, when combined, can create a powerful wave of change.
Oh, for sure.
So let's dive into some concrete actions we can take. What are some things listeners can do in their daily lives to make a difference?
One of the most fundamental shifts we can make is to rethink our consumption patterns.
Okay.
It's about being more mindful of what we buy, why we buy it,
Right.
and how much we truly need. Do we really need that latest gadget, or are we just caught up in the cycle of consumerism?
It's about stepping back and asking ourselves, what do I truly value?
Right.
And aligning our spending with those values.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about the things we already own. It's not always practical or environmentally responsible to just throw everything away and buy new, more sustainable products.
Yeah, that's where reducing waste comes in.
Right.
Repairing items instead of replacing them.
Right.
Upcycling or repurposing old items and composting food scraps are all great ways to extend the life of our belongings
Yeah.
and reduce what ends up in landfills.
It's about embracing creativity and resourcefulness.
Yeah.
I love that idea of giving our belongings a second life.
Yeah.
And speaking of giving things a second life, we have to talk about recycling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Recycling plays a crucial role in closing the loop on resource consumption.
Right.
By reclaiming valuable materials from discarded products, we reduce the need to extract virgin resources,
Right. Yeah.
lessening the environmental burden.
It's like giving those materials a chance to be reborn.
Uh-huh.
But recycling can be confusing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like every municipality has different rules.
Right.
What are some tips for making sure we're recycling correctly?
You're right. Recycling guidelines can vary.
Yeah.
The best advice is to check with your local waste management program to understand which materials are accepted and how they should be prepared. Proper sorting and cleaning are essential to ensure those recyclable materials actually get recycled and don't end up contaminating the entire batch.
So a little bit of effort goes a long way. It's like a small act of environmental stewardship. We've talked about reducing consumption, reducing waste, and recycling, but we also need to talk about energy.
Right.
We've discussed the need to transition to renewable energy sources. How can individuals contribute to that shift?
One way is by making conscious choices about the energy we use in our homes. Switching to LED light bulbs, using energy-efficient appliances, and properly insulating our homes are all simple yet effective ways to reduce our energy consumption.
Those are all great tips. But what about making a bigger impact? For those who have the resources, is investing in solar panels a viable option?
Absolutely. Installing solar panels on your roof is a fantastic way to generate your own clean energy and reduce your reliance on the grid.
Right.
The technology has advanced significantly in recent years, making solar more affordable and accessible than ever before.
It's almost like taking your energy production into your own hands, harnessing the power of the sun.
Yeah.
But I realize solar panels aren't feasible for everyone.
Right.
What are some other ways to support renewable energy?
Even if you can't install solar panels yourself, you can still make a difference.
Okay.
Many utility companies offer programs that allow you to purchase renewable energy credits, which support the development of renewable energy projects.
Oh, okay.
You can also look into community solar programs, which allow you to subscribe to a shared solar array and receive credits on your electricity bill.
So there are options for those who rent or live in apartments as well.
Yeah.
It's about finding ways to participate in the clean energy transition, even if it's not on your own rooftop.
Right.
And beyond individual actions, we also need to consider the role of businesses and governments in driving change.
Yeah, for sure.
What can they do to create a more sustainable future?
Businesses have a tremendous opportunity to integrate sustainable practices throughout their operations and supply chains. This means reducing their environmental footprint, investing in renewable energy, sourcing materials responsibly, and designing products with end-of-life in mind.
It's about recognizing that sustainability is not just an ethical imperative, it's also good business. Well, consumers are increasingly demanding products and services that align with their values, and businesses that prioritize sustainability are likely to have a competitive edge.
Exactly. It's no longer a question of whether businesses should embrace sustainability, but how they can do it most effectively. And consumers have a role to play as well by supporting companies that are genuinely committed to sustainability.
It's about creating a feedback loop where consumer demand drives corporate responsibility.
All right.
And what about governments? What role can they play in fostering a more sustainable future?
Governments have a crucial role to play in setting the stage for sustainability.
Right.
This includes enacting policies that incentivize sustainable practices and discourage unsustainable ones.
That could include things like carbon pricing, renewable energy subsidies, and regulations on pollution and resource extraction.
Exactly.
But it's not just about sticks and carrots, right?
No.
Governments can also play a more, proactive role in investing in clean technologies and infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Right.
Investing in research and development of new clean technologies,
Right.
building out renewable energy infrastructure,
Yeah.
and supporting the transition to a circular economy are all areas where governments can make a significant impact.
It's about creating a future where sustainability isn't just an aspiration, but the default setting. It's about moving from a model of extraction and consumption to one of regeneration and resilience.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that the health of our planet is inextricably linked to our own well-being. It's about understanding that we're all part of a complex web of life.
Right.
And that our actions have ripple effects far beyond ourselves.
Yeah.
What are some final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important message is that we all have a role to play in creating a more sustainable future. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the challenges, but it's important to remember that every action, no matter how small, makes a difference. Whether it's reducing our consumption, making more sustainable choices, advocating for change, or supporting businesses and organizations that are working towards a more sustainable future, we can all be part of the solution.
It's about shifting from a mindset of apathy to one of agency.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we're not just passengers on this spaceship Earth. We're the crew.
Right.
And we have a responsibility to steer this ship towards a brighter, more sustainable future.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure exploring these crucial topics with you.
And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Keep learning, keep questioning, keep taking action. Because together we can create a world where both people and planet can thrive.
This is DigitView.